Okay, so we're going to start our assessment facial. So this is how we would expect you to carry out your assessment facial on the day of your assessment. It's a 1 hour facial, so take your time. Before my model has got on the bed, I have cleansed the bed and I have put couch roll on. I've got my steamer ready and my steamer is pointing upwards. This is so important. If your steamer is facing towards you, towards your client, and the assessor or the IQA sees this, it will be an instant refer. So make sure your steamer is pointing upwards. You've got your magnifying glass ready. You've got all of your products ready. So you don't have to keep getting up. If you need to get up and you need to wash your hands or you need to change your gloves, you can absolutely do so. The only other thing I would mention is when we start to steam, once we turn it on, stand up, move around the bed, pull the steamer away, and then turn it on to your client. That's really important. You need to bear in mind health and safety with this facial. So within these facials, obviously I've got nails on here, but on the day of your assessment, no nails, no tips, no colour, no nothing. Your nails need to be completely bare. Although we wear gloves in the facial, the IQA and the assessor will see your nails within that consultation. So bear in mind, again, if you have nails on, it's an instant fail. Take off jewellery, take off nails, sleeves up. So what I'm going to do before I start is pop my gloves on, and just out of habit, whenever I pop gloves on, I hand sanitize. So I have a little bottle of sanitizer in my trolley next to me. You will have already seen how I do my setup, so it is literally ready to go. I'm going to hand sanitize, and the first thing I'm going to do is cleanse. So if you watch how I have filmed the product setup, so I've got my cleanser here. What I'll do is I'll open it in my trolley. I'll just do it here to show you. I then have a disposable. So what I'm going to do is get my cleanse, pop it on the back of my hand, and then this is going to go under my trolley into my dirty kidney dish, which sits underneath. Then I'm going to pop the lid back on, and then I'm going to start my cleanse. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my fingers in a little bit of water with the cleanse. And I don't think you can see it in the picture, but I've got some kitchen roll here just in case I do need to dry. And then we're going to go straight in and we are going to cleanse the skin. So we're taking off all of that makeup. Obviously be cautious around the eye area. So you really get your hands in there, remove all of that makeup. Once you've done your cleanse, you're going to do your facial analysis. Unless all that makeup is gone, it's going to be really difficult to do your analysis. How's that feeling, Kat? All right.
Yeah, good.
Once that cleanser is on, use your fingers. You're going to get your cotton pads, dip the cotton pads in water, and just take that cleanser off the skin. I always like to, when I'm coming onto the skin, always just kind of tap so the client knows. And when I'm coming off, I tend to just put a little bit of pressure on the temple there. Just feels quite nice. And throughout the facial, it'll give your clients kind of an idea of when each element is finishing. So I've just dipped these pads in my water. Ideally, your clients will be coming with no eye makeup. If your clients are wearing eye makeup, then you will remove that product. Same with lipstick. So we want to make sure we've done a nice thorough cleanse. And again, I'm getting rid of my dirties in my kidney dish. that sat underneath my trolley of products. I'm just going to go over again and just triple make sure I've got all of that product off, all of that cleanser. And actually, as I'm cleansing, I'm looking at the skin. I can see some little areas in Kat's nose that we'll extract. Kind of doing the analysis before I even really do the analysis, just to give me a bit of an idea of what's going on with Kat's skin. So we've got all of that makeup off. It's looking nice and clean. Once you have done your cleanse, what you're going to do is pick up your phone and take a picture. Obviously, I'm recording with my phone, so I'm not taking a picture here. However, it's really important to take your before and after pictures for your insurance purposes and for informed consent and just for your records. You will be referred if you are not taking your before and after pictures. So here I would have picked up my phone, taken a picture, popped my phone back, and then I am going to sanitize my hands. So if ever in doubt, sanitize. Even if you have to sanitize all the time. The only time I'm probably really going to change my gloves is when I do my extraction. So now I'm going to do my skin analysis. Actually, just going to pause this 2 seconds to turn the music down. Okay, so let's move on to our skin analysis. So with your skin analysis and your extraction for your assessment, you are going to do that under your mag lamp. So I have got my mag lamp here. And what I'm going to do is just have a real good look at Kat's skin. I'm going to tell Kat what I can see. I mean, her skin is beautiful. There's definitely some little kind of comedones around the nose area, which are blackheads, but for the assessment, you want to use the word comedones. I can see Kat's got some pigmentation. Apart from that, her skin looks amazing. What I would also do is just have a little feel. Have a little feel of the skin. Sometimes there may be lumps that aren't visible that you can feel, and you'll just want to pop those down in your consultation notes. But overall, what I would say for Kat is just a couple of comedones, bit of pigmentation, but her skin is beautiful. So there's our skin analysis. And then what we would be doing then is a second cleanse. And the reason we do a second cleanse is, although today we are using all of the Evolve product range, if your client, for example, had dry and dehydrated skin, you would then be using your hydrating range. Or if a client had sensitive skin, you'd then be using your calming range. So you would use the right cleanser for the skin type. However, we're just going to go back over with our Evolve cleansing melt. So again, I've got the pot, I've taken the lid off, I've got a new spatula, I've popped some product on my hand, and then that spatula goes in my empty kidney dish. Pop the lid back on, put that product back. So I'm just going to go in, and I mean the skin's pretty clean here, but I'm just going to go in and just do that second cleanse. I mean, you don't need to kind of massage here, you don't need to be super, super light. You want to make sure that you are picking up all of that dirt from all around the face. So you are working from a beautiful clean base. So I'm just going to get some cotton pads. And then I'm just going to remove all of that product before we start our exfoliation. So before I started this facial, about 10 minutes before I started, I actually filled up my steamer with water and I turned it on just to make sure it was warm. Sometimes they can take kind of 10 to 15 minutes to heat up. Once it had heated up, I turned it off. What I'll do is, before my exfoliate, just turn that back on just to make sure it heats up in time for me to do the steaming element. One thing that's really important to remember when you steam is to get some cotton pads, a little bit of water, and just pop them over your client's eyes. It is a health and safety risk not to put pads over your client's eyes when you are steaming, and it will be an automatic fail. So that is our cleanse done here. So what I am going to do is just hand sanitize, just I finish the cleanse. So at this point, I have cleansed, I have taken a photo, I have done my skin analysis, and then I have cleansed. There is actually something that I have just thought about that I have forgotten. Has anyone realised what that is, Kat?
Hairnet.
Absolutely. Hairnet. So I'm actually just going to pop that on now. Don't worry if you forget. Within your assessment, if you forget something, just do it as you remember. Don't leave it. So I've forgotten my hairnet. I'm not now going to be like, right, I'm just going to leave it. I'm actually just going to pop that on now. Right, if you just pop your head up for me. What I'm going to do is just put that around here. Pop your head back and then pop that over. And the reason we want the hairnet is obviously protection, to protect the client's hair. Make sure we don't get any product in the hair. So again, I'm just going to hand sanitize here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my steamer on because I'm at that point where I'm going to do my exfoliation. So I'm just going to stand up. And I am going to turn my steamer on, and I've just made sure that that steamer is pointing upwards. So when it's heated up and it starts to steam, it is not facing me, it is not facing my client, it's not going to touch either of us. So now I'm going to do my exfoliation, and I'm going to do the same as what I did with the cleansing pot. I've got my pot here, I take the lid off, I place it down, I use a fresh stick, pop that on my hand, dispose of my stick, pop the lid back on and put that jar back. So again, you can add a bit of water to your fingers if need be, and I am going to exfoliate. And what I'm doing here is just taking off any of those dead skin cells that are kind of sat on top of the skin. And I can feel the little grains on the skin here. So really work that exfoliator into the skin. And then what I'm going to do is my cotton pads to remove that product. So I'm just dipping those cotton pads in water, and then I'm just going to remove all of that product from the skin. Always make sure when you are removing product, when you're touching the skin in this way, that we are working upwards. We don't want to be sagging the client's skin. We want to work up towards lifting. I mean, on the forehead, you can kind of work around and down. But when you come past the temples, you're always working up. I'm just going to do one more of those, just to make sure all of that product is gone. So we have done our exfoliation, and now what we are going to do is we are going to steam. But what I'm going to do with my client is I'm going to ask her to close her eyes, and I'm just going to dampen some pads ever so slightly. I mean, you do want to dampen them, otherwise they don't stay on the eye. So I'm just going to be really cautious here because my client does have eyelashes. They're not going to want to sit too well. Is that all right, Cam?
Yeah.
Okay, might have to just do a little bit of adjusting. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up and I am going to turn the steamer onto Kat's face, bearing in mind health and safety. So I'm going to move my mag lamp out the way. steamer is away from the client's face. Okay. How's that feeling, Kat?
Yeah, perfect.
Not too hot? Does that feel okay?
Yeah, fine.
So I've tried to move the steam over. So the steam is on the center of my client's face. I do not want my client to have to move their face. I'm just going to make sure those pads are covering the eyes. And then I'm going to just leave Kat there. I'm looking at the time and I'm probably going to leave the steamer on for about 5 minutes. What I would be doing when that steamer is on is you would get, by now you've done your consultation, you've done your consultation notes. I would pick up your board with your consultation notes and I would just make some notes on your board about the skin analysis. What did you notice? You know, your client had beautiful skin. I'm actually just going to adjust that steamer slightly just because I can see that steam isn't totally. There you go, that's a bit better. So on the notes, I would be stating that my client has beautiful skin. There's definitely some comedones in the nose that we can work on in terms of extraction. We've got some pigmentation. I mean, the facial that we're doing today isn't necessarily going to combat pigmentation. However, you can potentially recommend alternative treatments. So I am just going to pause the video just whilst I allow the steam to go on. No point in me just leaving this in so you can watch the steam. And I will be back in 5 minutes. Okay, so Kat has had the steamer on for about 6 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up, I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to make sure that the steamer is not pointing towards Kat. So I've turned that off. I'm going to turn it upwards away from me so it doesn't go across my face. And I'm going to move that steamer out of the way. So I can take the little pads off Kat's eyes, and again I'm disposing those. And then I want my mag lamp for my extraction. So I am just going to extract any little kind of comedones that I can see here on Kat. How's that feeling, Kat? And you can get right in there, you know, pull the nose over, get some of those little comedones out. I mean, for me, if I'm having a facial, I definitely want an extraction. And what the steamer does is it loosens the skin so you can get all of those little comedones, those little blackheads. Don't worry about kind of moving the nose around. Feeling all right, Kat?
Yeah.
Is there anywhere else in particular you kind of feel like you get any little spots? I mean, your skin looks really clear, to be fair.
Yeah, the only place I get spots is my chin, which is all hormonal, so not too bad with blackheads.
Yeah, I can't really
It's
see
not too bad
anything. I mean, you've got little milia.
Yeah.
A couple of little milias. And if your clients have milia, guys, I mean, that's extraction. You wouldn't need to do that within your assessment facial. All right. So we've done a little bit of extraction there. Kat didn't really have too much. And I mean, if your client doesn't have anything, then you can modify it and you can put on your form the client didn't have any, so we didn't really need to do any extraction. At this point, I am going to change my gloves. So again, I'm going to get rid of the dirty gloves in my little pot. I am going to hand sanitize my hands. And then I've got some fresh gloves already prepared. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to pop some toner on. I've actually used way more cotton pads than I thought I would, so I'm just going to go and grab some cotton pads. You can never have too many cotton pads, so don't be afraid when you're getting set up for your assessment, if we've set everything up, to just grab extra cotton pads. So I am going to tone, and what I'm going to do here is just pop the toner on the cotton pads and just wipe that onto client's face. So always remember, firm and lift the skin. And you know what? The clients really do feel it afterwards. Right, there's our. So the next thing we are going to do is our massage. What we're using for the massage is the Bioretinol and Vitamin C Skin Booster, completely natural product. It comes in like a little pipette, so I'm going to pop it in my hand, massage it onto the client's face, and then I am going to give my client a lovely massage. When you are doing your massage, oh, it smells glorious. So you need to make sure that you are using 3 massage techniques. So you've got your effleurage, which is basically rubbing around the face. Circular motions, always kind of pulling up. So this is our effleurage. Then you've got your petrissage. The petrissage is your kind of pressure points. So as long as they can see some effleurage and then some petrissage, again, which is your pressure points. And then the third technique they're going to want to see is your depotement. It's literally just little taps on the face. Generally, you're going to be massaging for around 10 minutes. And as long as you use all of those 3 techniques, along with kind of anything that kind of feels quite nice for you to do on your client, then you will pass in that area. I tend to always spend a little bit of time with the effleurage on the masseter around the jaw area. Lots of clients tend to kind of clench their jaw and carry tension in this area, and it feels quite nice for the client. Releasing tension in this area can also help with tension headaches. How's that pressure feel?
So nice.
Perfect. And you can say to your client, how does the pressure feel? I mean, obviously you're not going to want to keep saying it, but just get an idea of that pressure initially. And don't be scared to be firm. It actually feels really nice. Got fairly small hands. Most of the time you can kind of use your whole hand. I'm quite lucky, I've got quite small hands. So I get to use my whole hand, whereas if you've got slightly larger hands, just working with your fingers. To be fair, that's quite nice. I've got on petrissage. I mean, I've probably massaged for a few minutes here, sorry, Kat, but within your assessment facial, obviously you're going to want to massage for a little bit longer. Just keep an eye on timings. You're going to have a clock in front of you to make sure. I mean, generally you're going to want your facial to be between sort of 50 and 60 minutes. And we can leave that product in the skin. And now what we are going to do is our mask. And what we're going to use is our Bioretinol Gold Mask, which is the most amazing mask. Look at that, it's just beautiful. So, once you've dipped it in once, if you need to go in for some more, get rid of it and get another stick. Get rid of it. Pop your lid on and pop that back. And then we will apply the mask with our little brush here. So what I'm going to do is just apply this mask onto Kat and then kind of just massage with the brush. And we generally want to leave that mask on again for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how you're doing with your timings. And I just tend to, once that mask is on, just continue to kind of give a lovely massage with my brush. And remember, you're not in any rush. You can absolutely take your time to pop this on the skin. So you don't want to be too close to the eyes. And I'm kind of working up the face, always lifting. I'm actually going to get a little bit more out and just pop a bit more on for Kat. So I just pop my brush down, open my pot, new stick, more product, get rid of that stick, pop that down. In your assessment, if a client has a piercing and they can take it out, ask them to take the piercing out. If it's fresh and they can't necessarily take it out, ideally you would cover it up. It might just be worth noting that when you're doing your consultation, if the client has any piercings, ask them, can you take that out? If not, can I cover it up? So now we've got that beautiful gold mask on. What I tend to do is just and you know, it doesn't look like it would feel amazing, but it really does. And you would just kind of continue to massage with your brush all of that product into the skin. Again, you don't ever really want to be sat round doing nothing. Lift. Nice lifting motion. A nice cat.
Making me sleepy. So nice.
So again, I've just popped this mask on. I've massaged for a few minutes. You are going to do that for around 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how much time you've got left within your facial. I'm just going to pop this on pause because I'm going to let Kat really enjoy that mask, and I will be back in 10 minutes. Okay. So Kat's literally just said to me when we got off the video, she's like, oh my God, that's so nice. She's got to go back to work. And she's like, how am I going to go back to work? So I'm actually going to, not that you would need to change your gloves here, but I am going to change my gloves just because I've got some mask on my gloves there. Again, I always just like to hand sanitize in between. When I put my gloves on, hand sanitize again. If in doubt, just sanitize. And then what we're going to do is remove the mask and then move on to the final elements of the facial, which involves moisturizing, a little bit of eye cream, our SPF, and most importantly, what do we do at the end? Kat?
You give
Picture, aftercare, yes. Aftercare after the picture, but picture, yeah, definitely aftercare, yeah. All right. Sorry, the magic is coming off. You are going to go through a few little cotton pads getting this off. Again, just dispose of your dirty cotton pads.
A nice pressure as well.
You need to use a little bit of pressure generally to be able to get that off. Most of the time you'll be left with a little shimmer as well, which is beauty. Be careful of the eye area if you haven't gone too close, but I don't want to get any kind of running water or product in my client's eyes. So you'll go through quite a few cotton pads in this. Nice little bit of gold in your brow. Again, I'm always kind of coming up, lifting that skin. I think we're all off. Now I can see it's just lovely gold shimmer. So again, I'm just going to hand sanitize because I'm going to move on to my next step, and I've just kind of taken product off. If you are hand sanitizing, obviously you make sure that you're using a tiny weeny bit and that your hands are totally clean and dry. You don't want to be putting that alcohol onto your client's face. It is going to dry their skin out. So now I am moving on to my moisturizer. So again, lid off, clean spatula, moisturizer onto my glove. Get rid of that spatula, lid on, pop back. And I always kind of like to put my moisturiser on and just give a little bit of a massage. I mean, you can literally just rub it on, but you can just give your client that extra bit pressure and massage. I'll definitely thank you for it. We've got our effleurage, which is our nice kind of round motion. Make sure that moisturiser is all rubbed into your client's face. Finish off with a little patch there. So once we finish that moisturiser, I am going to move over to some eye cream. So we've got a little squeezy pump eye cream here. And if you just close your eyes for me, and then I'm just going to pop, obviously because my client's got eyelash extensions, and I'm not going to go too close to the eyes. I don't want any product getting on those, but I am going to apply some ice cream. And again, I'm kind of doing an effleurage motion, round circles. Oh, it's an eye cream. It doesn't matter if it kind of works into the cheeks. An eye cream is beautiful to just kind of brighten that eye area after a facial. Make sure all the product is rubbed in. Then we're going to move on to the final product, which is our SPF. I've just got a little squirty bottle here. I'll get into my hands. That is our SPF. And then what you are going to do is you finish your facial, but we want to take our picture. So again, I would then pick up my phone, take my picture of my client, and then you can ask them to sit up and you are going to go over your aftercare. And then for the assessment, there is going to be a feedback element and a signature that is required from your client.